The murder of Liese Dodd, a case too disturbing for Netflix. On June 9, 2022, the quiet city of Alton, Illinois, was shaken by a crime so horrifying that even seasoned investigators struggled to comprehend it. 22-year-old Liese A. Dodd was looking forward to one of the most joyful moments of her life, the arrival of her baby girl. She was 8 months pregnant, preparing for a baby shower her family had planned for the end of June. But instead of welcoming new life, her family was confronted with a nightmare that would capture national attention and become known as a case too disturbing for Netflix. Liese was described by her family as loving, bright, and full of hope for the future. Friends said she had a warm personality, and her social media was filled with excitement about motherhood. But behind the surface, her personal life was complicated. She had been in an on-again, off-again relationship with 22-year-old Deundrea Holloway for about 2 years. Their relationship was reportedly rocky, filled with tension and instability. And on that June afternoon, that instability turned deadly. When Liese's mother hadn't heard from her, she decided to check on her daughter at her apartment on Bolivar Street. What she found was beyond comprehension. Liese had been brutally murdered, decapitated inside her own home. Even more shocking, investigators later discovered her severed head, discarded in a dumpster near the apartment complex. It was a scene that police described as savage and beyond disturbing. Authorities quickly identified Holloway as the prime suspect. He had fled the scene, but was arrested the same day in Gillespie, Illinois, a small town about 30 miles away. When police took him into custody, reports say he was combative and uncooperative. He faced an avalanche of charges: 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of intentional homicide of an unborn child, dismembering a human body, and concealment of a homicidal death. Bail was set at $2 million. The brutality of the crime shook even the most experienced officers. Alton's police chief didn't mince words, calling Holloway a savage monster. Detectives later revealed that Dodd's due date was only weeks away at the end of July. What should have been a time of celebration was instead marked by grief and disbelief. As news spread, the details of the case horrified people across the country. True crime writers and bloggers labeled it a case too disturbing for Netflix, a phrase that quickly caught on because of the sheer brutality and tragic timing. The beheading of a young pregnant woman is something rarely seen even in fictional crime dramas, and now it had unfolded in real life. The justice process, however, was far from quick. Holloway's case was delayed multiple times between 2022 and 2024. He underwent several mental health evaluations to determine whether he was competent to stand trial. At one point, he even chose to represent himself in court, which created further delays. Eventually, doctors found him fit for trial, and proceedings moved forward. During this time, Liese's family had to relive the trauma again and again, showing up in courtrooms, hearing grisly details, and waiting for justice. Her mother spoke publicly, describing her daughter as a beautiful soul who wanted nothing more than to be a loving mother. She also shared the heartbreaking fact that the family had been planning a baby shower for Liese, an event that would never take place. Finally, on January 17, 2025, nearly 3 years after the crime, there was a resolution. Holloway pleaded guilty to first-degree murder, intentional homicide of an unborn child, and concealment of a homicidal death. The court sentenced him to 60 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections. Under Illinois law, he must serve the full term for the murder count, meaning he will likely spend the rest of his life behind bars. For many, the guilty plea brought some sense of closure. But for Liese's family, no sentence could ever make up for what was taken from them. A young woman's life, filled with promise, was cut short in the most brutal way. And an unborn child, who had no chance to take a first breath, was lost as well. The case sparked conversations not just about violence and justice, but about the hidden dangers of toxic relationships. Too often, warning signs are overlooked or minimized until it's too late. Advocates for domestic violence awareness pointed to Liese's murder as a reminder of the importance of speaking up, seeking help, and recognizing the risks that can come with unstable relationships. What makes this story so chilling is that it doesn't feel like something that belongs in our everyday reality. Beheadings and ritual-like violence are the stuff of horror films, and yet here it was in a quiet Illinois neighborhood, just miles from everyday families going about their lives. The phrase, "too disturbing for Netflix," isn't just a headline. It reflects how, even in a media landscape filled with violent true crime documentaries, this particular case still stands out as almost unwatchable in its brutality. As the years pass, the name Liese Dodd should not just be remembered for the horror of her death, but for the light she brought to those who loved her. Her family continues to honor her memory, keeping alive the dreams she once had for herself and her unborn child. They remember her laughter, her love for life, and her excitement about becoming a mother. The tragedy of Liese's murder is a reminder that behind every sensational headline is a real person with real dreams and a family forever changed. And while the justice system has spoken, the loss remains immeasurable. Some stories stay with us not because of how shocking they are, but because of how deeply they remind us of the fragility of life. This was the murder of Liese Dodd, a case too disturbing for Netflix, and one her family will never forget. This has been Luce Sombra, where the light fades and the shadows begin.